I taken all of the level traumas of anywhere from level 1 traumas all the way to level 3, and then depending on this.
Now, what's more serious, level 1 trauma or level 3? Do you recall why do you recall him in particular?
It was a pretty unique case. I remember it was a few hours before my we got the call about possible I'm not sure if we actually activated a level for this, to be honest with you.
Okay, why not?
I don't recall.
Okay. So what happened?
So there are some audio problems apparently.
So I'm like, I said, absolutely,
When they switch
let's go
cameras,
take a look and kind
cuts
of
in
look
and
at the
out.
extent of the burns. I'm like, okay, let's get him into the trauma room and then get the physician in there to assess him and then kind of proceed with the care. After
I'm going to interrupt you again. I'm sorry. When you were examining,
Yeah, assuming they
it's like
switch.
in like the
Is it?
EMS like ambulance garage area, I do believe.
okay, and when you examined him, was he wearing anything?
He was dressed. I think he just had t-shirt and pants on, I think.
All right. Did you see any injuries to him?
I saw extensive burns, a lot to the forearms and then face and head.
Okay. Did you?
Not extensively as much as when we got him undressed, but I did notice burns to his lower extremities, yes.
Okay. What happened after you examined him in the ambulance garage?
I promptly told him, let's get him into the trauma bay and get him undressed and on the monitor, and then I went and got the physicians on duty that day.
All right. And what happened then?
Started getting him undressed, obtain IV access. The physician at the time said that we should decon this patient, meaning we don't know what the offending agent is, so we put him into our decontamination room and started rinsing the patient down for any type of chemical materials or anything like that.
Had you ever done that before?
No, actually, I haven't.
So 15 years, this is your first time?
Correct.
Okay. Did that have any kind of effect on him?
It was uncomfortable. And, the water's warm, but with burns and all that, the deep burns aren't necessarily as painful, but like the surrounding tissue around that's quite painful.
I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
You said the deep burns are...
With full thickness burns, as we classify them, the nerve endings are damaged to where they're not functioning anymore. But with all burns, it's not solely just like a full thickness burning. It'll go from full thickness burn in the most worst part, then it'll kind of progress out to deep partial thickness and like superficial, and like the surrounding tissue around like the deepest burns still have active nerve endings and cause quite a bit of pain.
That sounds
but the
awful.
deepest ones themselves don't have those nerve
Typically,
endings?
no.
Okay. And you said some of these burns are pretty deep.
He had quite a bit like on the top of the head, and I want to say right lower leg, I recall being some of the worst ones, and then left forearm as well, I believe. So I've seen, yes, but not from not in my nursing career. I was a paramedic as well, and so I've seen like house fire burns that weren't that bad.
Okay.
Ouch.
Um,
Apparently the father was passed out drunk or something like that when she poured the stuff on him.
I really just with any patient, just making sure we have a patent airway. We go like airway, breathing, circulation are like the primary for any type of assessment. And he was conscious. He was maintaining his own airway. He was talking to us a little bit. He was uncomfortable during the decontamination, and then also becoming cold because you kind of you lose your ability to thermal regulate when you have such profound burns. You know, your skin can't keep heat in, so you can get pretty cold pretty quick.
Now, you said he would.
Moaning, you know, he wasn't necessarily crying out at this time, but he was mourning and stating that, you know, he was, you know, it hurt when we were, you know, wiping him down. And then he was shivering a little bit from the decontamination.
It was a world
What were the next
world
steps?
record fast opening statements yesterday, like 10
dried him
minutes and
off,
5 minutes.
Got him back into the trauma room, and then, you know, back onto the monitor. I started asking him what was going on, what happened, and he originally stated that he's like, oh, well, I did bomb my house, used like an insecticide bomb a couple days ago. He's like, maybe that's what caused this. And
What did you do based on that information?
after he was hooked up to the monitor and I started doing fluid resuscitation, I contacted poison control about the exposure to
With a 10-minute opening statement for the state and 5 for the defense.
My
It
discussion
won't
with
be
Poison
long, I don't think.
Control,
But
she
I haven't
stated
heard.
that it's not typical.
Wasn't even planning
of,
to stream this, but I
a
saw it come up, so
aerosol pesticide
kinda interested
causing
in it.
type of like chemical burn or anything like that. It's mostly just respiratory irritations, difficulty breathing. You know, can provoke worsening like asthma symptoms and stuff like that. She stated
I'm gonna stop you so I can.
Yeah, I remember a case when somebody had a canister or something in a fire and it exploded.
Okay.
It's awful.
So then-
burn
She
cases are
said
terrible.
what I was describing was more like an alkalytic type burn. After I
This is
got
in
off the
Michigan,
phone with Poison
Oakland
Control,
County.
I reported my findings, what I spoke with from Poison Control to the physicians, and I received
Thanks.
no further orders.
Just really
at that
interested
time.
to see if it's as
Okay, I'm gonna
bad
stop
as
you
the
there again. I'm sorry.
witness facts were in terms of how heartless the daughter was. I'm not sure that's true, but we're going to find out. That's her, the defendant. She had like an 18th birthday party she really wanted to get to that night, but father was some drunk, passed out or something like that. And she poured
Do you recognize
concoction on him that resulted in terrible burns, apparently.
Yes.
this? Okay, what is this?
It's the patient's electronic health record.
Okay, so these are his medical records?
Correct.
Okay. And how do medical records work at your hospital?
They're really long and boring.
Well, it's
Like every
we
hospital?
have a
Hard to
an
get?
electronic health record that we enter in data such as like the HPI or like history of present illness, kind of going over how the patient originally presents, and then we typically include like PERT positives and PERT negatives, meaning like PERT positives, like what we objectively see that would kind of point us towards like, you know, a differential diagnosis, and PERT negatives meaning that like it's not likely for other differential diagnoses.
I like the
And then
kind
we
of film
enter
noir
in
lighting they have on the
vitals
witness, where
where
half
we,
of them is dark and the other half's really light.
where our
Some high
IVs are
production in the
accessed,
courtroom.
medications administrations, and then any other pertinent information regarding to the patient status, whether, you know, if we
If this,
contact admitting
if the
physicians
witnesses are too
orders,
loud or
if
I'm
there's a
too loud
change
or
in the
something like
patient
that, let me know.
status.
Still
Now, this
trying
is
to get
something that
audio
all medical
balanced again.
personnel are required to do, correct?
Correct.
And this is part of your ordinary course of business,
Correct.
and you make it as close to the time that you actually did the action as possible. Is that correct?
Best of our abilities.
Okay.
I know if I take this banner down about the audio cutting out, I will hear about that.
So
Thanks.
I know the physicians enter their portion in, and then whoever else is consulted enter their portion in.
and those
They already went through a witness or two before I can even get this stream up. This trial is moving fast.
Understand.
did you take a look at the record?
They need to just stay with the witness. Then you can hear the questions.
Correct.
You don't really know if they're accurate or not, but you believe that they are?
I do.
Okay. I'll have no objection.
Cool.
So admitted?
Thank you. These medical records are made by.
Yeah, I think this dude, he stayed around for like 5 months and then finally died. I guess he had other problems too.
I believe I did.
Okay. And after you talked to them, you had said you had no further instructions for a little bit.
Correct.
What happened next?
I went back to assess my patient. I recall I only had a very small gauge IV access at that time.
I think
And
this
with
is a
burn
doctor, but he was
patients,
talking when I
fluid
started.
resuscitation is quite important because you lose quite a bit of fluid through the burns, and then just through the patient's inability to through cell destruction, you lose
Thanks.
intercellular fluid. So we follow what's called the Parkland fluid resuscitation to keep the patient's vascular system intact.
Were you able to stabilize him?
I didn't get another IV like I wanted to, but his vitals were stable at the time.
Okay. At some point, did you allow him to see visitors?
Yes, two gentlemen came in. I believe they were both sons.
Okay. Did you?
I think she told one or two people she put stuff on him.
Were you present when they were talking to visitors?
It may be
Can
a
you tell us
case
what
of
they were talking
intent, kind of a thing.
They were trying to
Did
discuss,
she intend to harm him?
like most of us, were like what had happened. At this point, the patient did seem slightly more responsive than when he first came in, discussing with that he remembered his daughter throwing a white powder on him when he was on the couch.
So you heard him say this?
I did.
Okay. Did you also?
I believe so.
Okay. Can I use the screen, Judge?
Yes.
So here's one of those exceptions to being able to confront the witness, because the father said she put the powder on me, but of course she can't cross-examine him because he's not in his mortal coil anymore. I did hear that the bottle that she poured on him had like a, not necessarily a giant skull and crossbones on it, but some kind of poison warning, and something that I'm sure should reasonably be taken to read: don't pour this on your dad or anyone else. But she was mad.
Juror
so.
seat number 1, can you please turn off the first 3 lights closest to the door?
Oh,
Thank you.
see, this judge,
Okay. It's still warming up a little bit, but
this judge knows what's
can
up.
you see that, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm showing on the screen what's been previously submitted to People's Exhibits 14, page 91 of that. Do you recognize what that is?
Yes.
What is that?
It's like a patient update in his medical record.
Okay. Now I've highlighted 2 portions here. Can you tell us who made those portions?
It would myself.
Okay. And the first word is PT in the top one there.
This
What does
guy's
PT
pretty
stand
solid, though.
Patient.
Just straightforward
for? What is your note
testimony.
there?
Patient recently recalls that the patient's daughter had thrown something on the patient. Oakland County was called about the alleged assault.
Okay. And what about the one at the very top here?
Uh,
I have my cursor on it over here.
sure. That's just kind of a basic, what I would a HPI of just how the patient presents.
I'm going to stop you there. What does HPI stand for?
History of present illness.
Okay. So that's kind of what he's there for. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the defendant. Kind of strange they cut the audio out like that, but
Showered. Patient had dark skin sloughing from the tips of his fingers, blisters,
awful.
blistered legs, top of the head, and on upper arms.
I want to ask you about one word here. You said blister legs. Is that bilateral? Is it too little small to see? Judge, can you approach the screen?
Yes, absolutely, sir. You can step down and go
Step
closer
a
if you
little
need to.
sloughing off is not something you want in your medical record typically.
Okay. And what does that mean in this instance?
Both left and right legs were burned.
All right. And then the next. Oh, and what does sloughing mean? Sloughing of the tips of his fingers.
Sloughing. Just
Sloughing,
like
bro.
the skin is just kind of coming off.
Okay.
Like as we kind of white, skin would come off with each intentional wipe of the skin.
Is that typical of burns?
She was 18 when she did it, or it was going to be her
The next
18th
note
birthday
here.
party.
That's indicated
So she's a little older than that.
Was called, and per poison control, pesticide homes normally present with respiratory distress. Poison control recommended standard tox screening and standard burn protocols.
I think the
Dr. Gamble
defense
was
said
informed
he
that
rubbed it
within
all over
monitoring
himself.
Okay.
After,
And then the next
at some
one down
point
there is the one where you wrote
in the opening
that
statement.
you had heard him recall that his daughter had thrown some chemicals on.
Correct.
Okay. And that indicates that you called Oakland County.
I think I called Genesee County, who then transferred me to Oakland
Okay.
County.
And when you say called, what did you call?
I took 911.
Okay. Is that part of your job?
All assaults are reported.
Okay. So you said all assaults. Did you
Correct.
think this was an assault now?
I did.
Okay. Based on what?
Based on the patient arrived with alteration in skin and stated that something was thrown onto him without his consent. So I take that as an assault.
Okay.
So there has been some discussion about how bad of a dad was he because he was passed out drunk naked that morning. I don't know any of that. I don't know all the dynamics. What I had seen earlier was a witness statement from a friend of hers talking about how she just kept wanting to get her dad's credit card number even after he was taken to the hospital because she needed to get that party rolling. To me, she kind of had this non-expression on her face yesterday during the opening too, and I mean, nothing wrong with that. You don't want to demonstrate too much in any direction, but horrific injuries of her father being discussed, and she's thinking, "I wish I could get my phone back."
Hi, my name is David. I'm a nurse at Ascension Genesis in Grand Lake, Michigan, calling to report a possible assault on my patient.
Okay.
My patient's name is Conrad, Konrad. Last is Imirowicz. He's a 64-year-old male patient with a date of birth of August 11th, 1957. Arrived via EMS with multiple chemical burns across his body. When he first arrived, he said that he thought maybe this was from a bug spray. Upon further investigation, the gentleman stated that his daughter had thrown some substance on him, possibly causing these burns.
Okay.
And just I'm stopping there because the remainder of the call is not admissible.
Thank you.
Is that what you told him?
She was gone.
Did you hear him say
Someone
anything
else
else
called
about what had
911.
happened? I don't recall. Okay.
She even asked somebody to go to the house and get his credit
they
card.
asked
I remember that.
Thank
I
you,
think
Mr.
that's going to be in the facts. This just started, so
Sure.
the DA only gave an opening statement of 10 minutes. So it wasn't a detailed
All right,
outline of
sir.
what happened, but we'll
On the
know
bottom
more
part,
soon.
You testified that he said a white powdery substance. You didn't put that in your report, did you?
This is the defense counsel.
Here's that. I did not.
Okay, that would be important, wouldn't it?
Yes, so
So that's not in the report, right?
correct.
Okay. And you're remembering that today?
That's what I remember. Yes,
Okay. But you didn't put it in back then, correct?
I did not.
He was intoxicated too, correct?
Yes,
Did you do any tests on that?
I don't know,
I don't remember.
or even know if anybody asked to do one, because I think the defense is saying, look, this was just an accident, or maybe she didn't even do it or something like that. So I don't think they've tried to say that she has a mental issue, but I could be wrong. This dude gave a 5-minute opening statement yesterday. That's awesome.
Okay, yeah, I've got new glasses coming in a week.
I hear you, bro.
These are a little tough.
Here, give me a minute.
I'm with him on that. But you're not going to make this witness sound like any kind of liar or whatever. You just need to take the L on this guy and move on with whatever your defense is.
You want the 51 first?
You can pull up 51st to see if it is. This indicates his blood alcohol level is 355 mg/dl. What's that mean?
355 milligrams per deciliter.
Now, being an attorney and not a doctor, I'm used to having them put it as a breathalyzer. Do you know what that would be if it was a breathalyzer?
Typical breathalyzer was anything over 0.80 is above, the legal limit. So that would put him at like 3.55.
3.55.
Yeah, like on a breathalyzer.
Okay, you're gonna have to explain that to me a little better. All right.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
Best of my knowledge, it's the concentration of how a breathalyzer measures the alcohol being exhaled versus being a blood. So, like, say if this was a breathalyzer, typically you just carry the decimal point 2 places to the left, and it'd be like 3.55 on a breathalyzer.
Or 0.355. Right.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah,
Judge, can I ask a question?
because I'm sure it's 0.08.
Do you know the formula and how to?
I don't know the formula.
Okay,
It's
so
Yeah.
you're guessing.
It's just from my experience.
Okay, just from your experience. He was fairly well intoxicated then, correct?
Correct.
And he wasn't feeling any pain. Well, he was feeling pain, but it was not as much as you'd expect from a burn patient.
It's fair to say.
I mean, are they trying to say he blew like a 0.35 if he were blowing versus a 0.08? If so, it's hard to believe he would even wake up. But I'm not sure the formula either, if that's how it works. If somebody knows, I'll post it up if I see a comment for it. Anyway, he allegedly was utterly smashed in the morning at like 10 in the morning or something. He was completely passed out, blasted,
All right.
basically
Okay.
naked on the couch or
So,
something. And she poured this stuff on him is the case.
And again, in this page, he does drink alcohol, and he attempted to get rid of the fleas in his house by using a bug bomb. Doesn't say what day he did that, does it?
No, sir.
Let's see. Actively intoxicated, you put as well, correct?
This would probably be the physician's charting.
Okay. So you didn't write that note.
No, that's Dr. Warby's HPI and review of systems.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Furby.
Dr. Warby.
She would be the attending ER physician that was on the case.
All right. Was she in the room with you when later on Conrad was talking to his
Ooh,
sons?
they got the audio working.
Thank you.
Take this banner out.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury, do you have any questions?
I like that. They're like, jurors, do you want to ask anything? What's up?
You may step down. Your excuse as a witness.
It's an unusual thing to hear. Really.
Judge, people are going to call Austin Imirowicz.
Okay.
Austin. Oh, okay.
They are moving this case along. They've been through at least 2 witnesses, maybe more. So they're getting it done. The opening statements together yesterday were like 15 minutes, 10 for the state, 5 for the defense. When have you ever seen that? And that might be a forecast of the efficiency with which both sides intend to approach this case and get it done. I mean, how complicated is it? She threw the stuff on him. He died. It's just really, did she mean to cause him harm or not?
Thank you. And can you just turn around for your oath, please?
Under penalty of perjury, you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you. You may be seated.
The court is still in film noir mode. Very careful lighting. Like it.
Sure. I mean,
That makes sense to me. And I think
state and spell your name.
the allegation
You want
was
the lights back on?
he was
We can do it for a
unconscious
while,
when
just
she
like
did
you
it,
have some
when she
photos
threw
that
it
you
on
can
him.
display.
So I don't know. And he was apparently like a long-term user, I think.
Thank you, Madam Proceed.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Right, they're bringing the lighting up.
Can you please state and spell your name for the records?
Austin Imirowicz, AUSTIN IMIROWICZ.
And Mr. Imirowicz, do you know a Conrad Imirowicz?
Oh, I do. That was my father. Yes.
That was your father. And your father is deceased now, is that right?
Yes, sir.
He's being called as a witness for the
Did
state.
you know a Megan Imirowicz?
I do. That would be my sister.
Okay. Do you see her in court today?
Yep. She's to the right. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
She's to the right. Yes, sir. My bad.
To your right?
Yeah, to your right or my right.
This is my left.
Your left. Sorry.
It's
Am
okay.
I right?
You're a little nervous.
Is she on first?
Yeah.
It's okay. Judge, ask the record to reflect the witness and identify the defendant.
She left? No, I'm right.
So noted.
Thank you. Yeah. And if you can speak up for us, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Sweet.
Yes, thank you. Where were you living on around October 1st, 2021?
I was living around October. I was living out in Pontiac off of Stanley.
Okay, so you weren't living with your father at that time.
In October, no.
Okay. Who was living with your father?
In October, it was still my father and Megan. I
Okay.
was still visiting though.
Okay. You still had a room at the house?
I'd given my room to him, but I was more so like visiting for the day, and then he was taking me home or to work. But
All
yeah,
right. Where was Megan's room in the house?
Megan's room in the house was, so if you walked up the stairs and you went right, it'd be right across the hall. So it was on the second floor to the right.
All right. So like when you walk in your house, it's a split level, right?
Yes.
So you walk in the landing, there's the stairs.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You go up the stairs, to the left is the living room with the couch.
Yep.
And to the right down the hallway is Megan's room.
Yep. Megan's room, and then to the left was the bathroom, and to the right was my room.
Okay. I want to take you to October 1st, 2021. You came to be aware that something happened that day, right? Did you get a phone call from Kayla?
Yes. No. Yes. Sorry. I was.
Yeah,
I
lawyer
was getting a
questions
phone
can be
call
so
from him that
bad.
day.
Okay. And that's Kayla Boswet.
Yes. Sir.
And what was your relationship with Kayla at the time?
As a neighbor, she was a friend and a neighbor.
Okay. You'd known her for a while.
Yeah, I'd known her since freshman year, I believe.
Okay. And you were already graduated by then?
I had just graduated.
Just
yes.
So she called you. How did she sound on the phone?
Yes.
She sounded
Yep.
kind of confused and concerned. She had told me how that she had thought my dad had an accident or something. I had asked her, like, what do you mean? Like, you know, what's he look like? She had mentioned how he's kind of covering like black something, or not sure if it was like, not sure how it was described, but like he didn't look well.
Okay.
And then I had told her to call the ambulance and that I was on my way.
All right. Now, she was upset on the phone, you said?
Like concerned. She seemed just more concerned. Yes, sir.
Okay. What were you thinking when she was describing to you what she was seeing?
I thought that maybe he had just had an injury or maybe he had fallen or something like that. I wasn't expecting to see what I had seen when I got there. That's
Okay.
what you're asking.
And you said you left then?
Yes, I was on my way to go meet her after I told her to call for an ambulance and police. I was on my way with my roommate, Lucas, who was driving me out there.
So
Okay. Was
now
there
there
anyone else with you and Lucas?
is a
It
motion
was me,
from the
Lucas,
defendant.
Bella, and Chase, I believe.
Okay. And who are Bella and Chase?
Bella was also a roommate at the time, Lucas's girlfriend. Chase was also a roommate at the time, a good homie of all of us.
Okay.
Good homie.
How far was it from where you lived to the home here? To your father's home?
To the old house?
Yes.
I'd say 15, 20, but no further really.
Okay. Did you leave right away?
I did leave right away, yes. Actually, as soon as she described that he looked like he was black and covered in something, I had started throwing out my shoes as I was talking to her on the phone, and then I got in the car and left.
Okay. Everyone else came with you?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you got to the house, what did you see? When you first pull up.
Well, when I first pulled up, I had seen, if I remember correctly, I believe there was an ambulance already.
Wow.
We had gotten there, walked up, and he was like, just all black and like burned.
Okay. So you said he. Are you talking about your father now? Is that a yes?
Yes,
You
sir.
got to keep your voice up if you can. I know it's
Yes,
hard.
sir.
Was he already outside?
He was on his way getting transported outside in the stretcher,
Okay.
but he was like, he looked black. He looked a bit burned or whatever. And
All right. So you could see his injuries?
yes, sir.
Did you try and talk to him at that point?
I did. Actually, I tried to talk to him. I'd asked him what had happened. He just had told me that he was fine. He doesn't know, as they were lowering him into the ambulance. And then I further talked to him a bit more when we first got to Genesis.
Okay. We'll get there. What did you think when you saw some of these injuries on him that first time?
I mean, to be honest with you, sir, there's not really a good, not really something I formulated in my head. I was kind of more just shocked, and like, whoa, like what had happened.
Okay. When you were talking to him there and he said he was fine, how did he sound to you?
He sounded normal, which to me was a bit surprising considering how he had looked. But he sounded normal. He was happy. He was him. I mean, he was normal.
Okay. And they put him in the ambulance, and then they left. Is that right?
Yes, and then we followed that.
Okay.
So
Did
he
you go in
was
the house?
very drunk, though.
I had gone in the house
Might explain how he could
real quickly once
behave
to
that
go
way.
and see, like, maybe if there was something I could see to would have happened or something. But yeah,
Okay. And when you went to the ambulance or went to the hospital, that was the sense in Genesis. Is that right?
yes.
Okay. How long were you there before you got to talk to your dad?
Ooh.
Roughly, if you recall.
Roughly, it wasn't that long. I'd have to say maybe like at most 25-minute wait. I'd gotten in there pretty quick towards speaking to him and be talked to by the nurse.
Okay. When you got there, did you go in first or did somebody else go in first? To see your dad.
No, I believe I was the first one in with Lucas to see him.
With Lucas, you said? Okay. And who is Lucas?
Lucas is an old friend.
Okay. How long have you known Lucas?
Known Lucas since high school.
Okay. Was he over at your house a lot?
Yes.
Okay. And so you went in with Lucas to talk to your father.
Yes.
When you were in there, what did you guys talk about?
I'd asked him what had happened, if he had known, like, because he had told me that. Well, no, hang on. I asked him what had happened. I told him, like, you don't look all right. He had told me that he had just set off a bug bomb or something. Lucas and I had both agreed and told him, like, Dad, a bug bomb doesn't do this to you. And that was it. Because for the rest, he had insisted that that's what it was. He couldn't remember anything else. He had told us that, like, he was fine. He said he just had, like, one drink and went to bed, so that was it. And that was the last thing he remembered.
So he told you had one drink and gone to bed.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall him saying anything about Megan?
I don't. I know before, if I'm allowed to backtrack.
Well, yeah, answer the question, I guess.
Oh.
Do you recall if he said anything about Megan?
No, not at that time, no.
Okay. Not at that time. Did he say anything about Megan another time?
I had heard that before.
Well, heard from whom?
Kayla.
Okay. We're not going to talk about what Kayla told you.
Okay.
Okay.
He had one
But you didn't recall
5-gallon
everything
drink
he told you? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
before bed.
You wrote out a written statement in this instance, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was closer in time to when this happened, wasn't it?
Yes.
Do you recall when you wrote that written statement?
I believe, well, I know it was right after, in the same day that night after I had visited my dad, after we'd gotten to the other hospital.
Mhm.
But I do remember writing that statement, yes, sir.
Fair to say that that incident was fresh in your memory then?
Yeah.
Judge, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
When did you
Do you
write the
think this
written
might refresh
statement?
your recollection?
Possibly, yes, sir.
I'm just going to ask you to read your statement.
So she was crying a moment ago.
Quietly to yourself. When you're done, just put his face
Not
down
sure
and look
what shook her up so far. He hasn't blamed her for anything. Maybe just seeing him. Because she didn't appear moved by a description of her father's injuries earlier. So I don't think that was a positive relationship. He's now reading his statement to refresh his recollection. Not sure what it was he couldn't recollect. Go back to this. In case anybody didn't remember
refresh your
that.
recollection?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall your father telling you anything about Kayla or Megan at that point?
No.
Okay. You wrote down something about that, though, didn't you?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to have to change my order of exhibits. At this one, I would move to admit this statement as a past recollection reported.
Mr. Miller?
I can't believe he won't object to this. I guess it depends on what it says.
No objection.
Dang.
And this will be, just so we don't mess up all the order of all exhibits, Exhibit 19.
I have a 19. Is this exhibit 20?
Sorry, yes, Exhibit 20. Thank
Okay.
you. All right. Austin, I'm going to ask that you read your statement into the record, please.
Out loud?
Yes.
Well, let's see what he said.
So I was at home. Then Kayla had called me at 6:58, letting me know my dad was in bad condition. I told her how to help him and to call the police, and rushed over when I got there. He was sober, conscious, but had the burns when they took him to the hospital. I then checked the spot where he was where he was there was blood and smell of some chemical at the hospital. My dad mentioned to me how stuff was thrown at him, like clothes, cans, hairspray, and he said he believes it was cleaning supplies.
You can reach page 2, sir.
He had trouble remembering. He also mentioned he bombed the house. Lucas and I asked if he was covering.
This is her brother.
Meg. That's when he stated Megan said she threw bread at him to my mom and grandma, but my dad said trash, clothes, cans were thrown at him. He also said how him and Meg did fight but talked. Then he went to bed and woke up like that to being put in an ambulance, and then stated he can't and couldn't remember as he was at the hospital, as he got emotional. Also, when I was at the hospital, Megan called knowing I was at the hospital and wasn't concerned about him, only asked about how to get his credit card to work. I told her I don't know and I don't care. I am at the hospital, and she got mad and hung up.
Okay. Again, that statement was made on the same day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Closer in time and better recollection at that point.
Yes, sir.
When you were talking to your dad there, how did you seem?
Scared. I'm going to be honest. Scared.
Were you scared?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to lie. Yeah.
Okay. You also talked to Megan that night, right?
Yep.
Okay, and that was encapsulated in your statement. Is that a yes?
Yes.
So while you're at the hospital, you talked to Megan on the phone.
Yep.
Do you recall who called whom?
She had called me.
Okay, she called you.
Yes, sir.
What did she say to you? When she
Here
called
we go.
She had called me, and it had gone that she was asking about if I knew Dad's PIN or whatever. I told her no, why, because he's at the hospital, and that's when she was like, oh, and it just hung up, and that was it.
Okay.
That was the end of that phone call.
How did you feel about that?
I was angry.
Why?
I mean, to show no care at all, but I mean, to dismiss something serious.
All right. Now, while you were at the hospital, other people showed up. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Julie Conrad was one of those people.
Yes, sir.
And who was Julie Conrad?
My mother.
Okay. Was she and your father together at that time?
No.
Okay, they were divorced.
Yeah, it happened for a very long time.
Okay.
Apparently, she wanted her father's credit card information
At some point
to
you
pay
went
for
back
the
to the
party
house, is
she
that
was
right?
planning on having that night. And she
I
was
went back to the
butthurt that she
house
couldn't get it to work.
later after
She was
giving
not
a
butthurt. He was in the hospital.
group of roommates to get the cats. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were inside the house briefly, you said, when Conrad was being taken out.
Yes, I had gone in just for a second before following the ambulance. Yes, sir.
Okay. In those times, what did you observe about the area where your father was?
There was some sort of white, whatever it was. I'm assuming it's safe to say it's probably chemical. But there was just like a ton of it, white stuff all over the couch. And then next to the end of the couch, there was like, I think cleaning supplies or whatever. And then just a bunch of other junk.
Okay. 1 second, Judge.
So this is her brother testifying, and I think his witness statement about the credit card stuff is going to match some things other people have said. We'll see if they get called.
The witness would have previously marked as People's Exhibit 4 through 8, I believe. Yes, 4 through 8. May I approach?
Yes.
Take a look at those for me.
Yeah. I don't know if she was still doing the hair appointment by then or needing it for other things for the party, but yeah, she definitely was trying to get everything, money together for this party she was having. Hair appointment too. So it could have been for that, or it could have been after that to something at the hotel because she was having this party at a hotel.
Do you recognize what's shown in those photographs?
I don't recognize it, no, sir, but I know that that is what was on the couch that I saw. Yes.
But
Okay,
but
so
thanks for
you
this.
don't recognize, you don't know what the bottle itself is.
No, sir.
Okay, but are those photographs of your couch at the home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do those photos fairly and accurately depict what you saw when you were examining the scene that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, I move to admit People's Prosecutors 4 through 8.
No objection.
So admitted.
And I'm going to put on the screen here, if that's all right.
Juror seat number 1, can you turn off light 1, 2, and 3, please? Thank you.
She should get a raise for extra work.
The jurors are also handling the lighting.
I'm showing People's Pros Exhibit 4. Austin, tell us what we're looking at here.
It's a couch,
Couch.
blanket, and that's the white stuff that I saw from the bottle. And then above that's the window seal.
Okay. Now I'm gonna highlight something with my cursor here. Is this the bottle itself that you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me about the couch here? This is a brown couch, but there's some discoloration here, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That I do not know. I'd assume that maybe it was from the white bottle, but that I don't know, and to this day I still don't.
Okay. Was the couch wet?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
Okay. Now, all right, moving on to the next one. This is People's
Okay.
Exhibit 5.
It's a picture
Now,
of
the
a
bottle's in a different location.
drain pipe
but is
there.
this what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
Is that some of the white powder you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever touch any of that stuff?
No.
Okay.
I left it in the same position it was the whole time until I believe it was finally later moved.
So when that stuff gets water on it,
I'm
it
assuming
activates. It gets extremely hot
In fact, you went with authorities to
with an
open house.
exothermic reaction.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is another picture of that bottle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And more of the white stuff on the couch.
Yep, that's still the couch too. Yes, sir.
All right. And is that the bottle you saw?
There it is. It says lie on
Yeah,
it.
that's a bottle I saw. I'd never seen the front of it like that, but yes, sir.
Okay.
See the little
Have you ever seen this
skull
stuff
and
before in the
crossbones?
house?
It does have a skull and crossbones down at the bottom left of the bottle.
You were over there pretty often, right? You used to live there.
Okay.
No,
That's
yeah, I lived there my whole
terrible.
life actually. I knew about almost everything that we had, whether it was in the cabinet, bathroom, etc.
Okay. But you had never seen this before.
No, no,
All
sir.
right. And is this that same blanket?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now it has a red pattern on it. But can you tell me what this looks like to you here that I'm circling?
From here to me, other than the red pattern, it looks white. Some of that stuff.
Okay. And this here as well?
Yes, sir. Same with there. It just looks like it's a ball form or whatever.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna unplug here for a moment. A couple months later, in fact, in December, you went back to the home with an investigator from my office and myself. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, you had been going to the home periodically throughout
Yes, sir.
because you were taking care of the house. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the appearance of the couch had changed in that amount of time.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Judge, I'm showing the witness People's Pros was 10, 11, 12.
It's even nastier.
May I approach?
Yes. 10, 11, and 12, no, 9.
Correct. 9 minutes later. Judge. Just take those keys for me. Do you recognize what's shown in those photographs?
Other than the living room and the blanket, no, sir.
That's the couch, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that the couch as it looked a couple months after?
After, no, it did look a bit different, but I'm not sure what really had happened. But like this was like later though.
Okay. So let me phrase this way. The couch changed appearance, correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't know why, but it did.
Yes, sir.
Is that how it looked?
After or? I'm sorry, sir.
That's okay. A couple months after October 1st. Is that what the couch looked like?
Couple months. I believe it still had some, but not to that extent, no, sir.
Okay. This is the same couch,
Yes, sir.
and you saw it look different, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do these pictures show what the couch looked like at some point later?
Kinda. It's just missing the bottle.
Missing the lye bottle.
Yes, sir.
Right, the lye bottle hadn't moved, but the couch in particular.
Yeah.
Okay. Judge, I'd move to admit these as people's 10, 11, 12.
Guess I would object to those, Your Honor. It's like, he's not real sure. I know he didn't take them.
Yeah, that was a terrible foundation. He kept saying, "Nah, I don't know if it looks like it or
She
not."
actually said that these are the this is the couch. This is how it looks. Just the lie bottle is missing. That's the only thing you said was different.
Okay, but it has to be at the time that the photograph was taken, and was that ever established? You said a couple months after. The witness indicated that that is not what it looked like a couple of months
Mhm.
later.
Let me try this.
Yes, sir.
Middle of December, it's 2021. You went to the house with myself and investigator Don Tullock. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You recall that incident?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had been at the house between then.
Yes.
Yes, you'd
They're
been at the
letting
house
him
after.
lead the guy now.
At some point, did the couch come to look different
It's pretty funny.
in that whole period of time?
Yes, but no. But like the white stuff was still there.
Okay.
You could tell some was kind of disappearing, but not fully.
The color of the couch fabric itself.
I didn't notice a difference in the fabric. No.
Okay. So this stuff, the fabric here doesn't look different.
I mean, it looks.
I mean, he said no like
Okay, so the
500
fabric did
times.
change color.
Now he's impeaching his own witness.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Don't be sorry. It's okay. Let me ask you this: did you pay close attention to the fabric of the couch?
I paid close. I mean, I took a glance at the couch and I took a glance at the bottom.
He's
I would
leading
say-
and impeaching his
fair
own
enough.
witness to try and get a picture into evidence.
Because I'll withdraw the motion to admit
Thank you,
those. Thank you.
He gave up.
Okay. Now, your father was in the hospital for quite some time. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when he came home?
So you do see how you can fail to get a picture into evidence from that little
Either-
exchange there. It's not always automatic.
That was March.
Okay.
It's around March.
Of the next
That
year,
was crazy.
2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you were the next of kin for your dad. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
You authorized a lot of medical care.
Yes, sir.
Your father was sedated often.
Yes, sir.
He was getting much medication, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about some of the procedures that your father went through while he was at the hospital?
I guess, Your Honor, I'm gonna object. This is the form of the question. He may not know the procedures. He can say what he authorized.
Okay.
Well, I know a good amount of them.
All right.
I mean,
Let me ask you this. There was treatments done to your father's legs.
yes, sir.
Did you participate in the decision making around those decisions?
Yes, I will say I did participate in one of the decisions, but I also left the decision in his hands because I had told him that, yes, I'm in charge, but it's not my life. It's also up to you.
I think we'll
Okay.
certainly
So he
hear
told the nurse,
this from the
shook his head,
defense.
and they authorized it, and eventually he had lost both his legs. Yes, they were. I believe.
I mean, there is a big skull and crossbones on it, a big
So that was
warning
the
label.
amputation
So I don't know.
Yes, sir, amputation.
And I don't know how much he has to know or which he
Yes.
just has to
Then
know
by
is
the
dangerous.
time before he had come home, yes, both legs were amputated. At first, they amputated one, and they started with the left side leg.
Okay. Did you come to learn why? What were you?
They amputated the legs because the legs were too severely infected and damaged. With
This happened when she was
and because
18.
of how deep it had went and gone, they had told me that he would bleed a lot if they had tried to laser or scrape it out, whatever they were doing. And so they had said that the best option, the best procedure to go about it was just to do an amputation, to cut it off from there, clean it up from there. And so that's what they did.
Did you authorize treatment pertaining to infections?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall how many times that was?
Oh, not sure about the.
I don't,
Brother,
but
but
I
he
know
had just
a lot
graduated.
of treatments because I visited daily, and there were times where I had to wait, or times where I actually couldn't visit. I mean, he had a lot of treatments, medication, numbing. Then he had a lot of skin therapy, grafting. Yeah,
Were you there when he was put on dialysis?
I was actually, yes.
Were you there when they gave him when they did a tracheotomy?
The trick, yes.
Okay. And what was the tracheotomy?
It went down in his throat, I believe, and it was something that they had given him to help him speak. And it's something that I remember because he had thought that he was not going to need it when he was coming home, but he still had it. He was coming home.
Well, it's
Was
pretty
he having
bad.
trouble speaking during those couple months?
At first he didn't speak at all, but then after a while he started speaking again. He struggled, yeah, a little, but when he had came home near the end, I mean, it was a bit better.
Okay. Now you said when he came home near the end.
Yep.
How did it be that he came home?
Came home on hospice.
You want some tissue, sir?
No.
Would you like some water?
There should be tissue right next to you.
You said he.
Thank you.
You said he came home on hospice.
Yep.
Okay. Did he make that decision or did you?
Whew. He made that decision. Sorry.
Okay.
He made that decision. I remember because I wasn't expecting him home. I thought I had more time, so he decided that he wanted to come home. So me and a great group of friends that I had helped me out, helped me get the house ready. And he came home.
Okay. And then he died 3 days later. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Thank you.
That's terrible.
Okay. Austin, Mr. Imirowicz, you indicated that your father, when the accident occurred, was he able to talk then?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So it was sometime later he had a tracheotomy and had problems talking?
Well, at first, before he had the tracheotomy, he couldn't talk at all. And if he did, it was like little. After the trach is when he started to have something of a voice again, yes.
Okay. How soon after the accident did he stop talking? Do you remember? Because you indicated that he made some statements when he was at the hospital or the emergency room when he got there, right?
I don't know, to be honest with you. All I
That's
know
fine.
is he was talking, and then at Ascension Genesis, they moved him. And whatever they started doing after that wasn't talking.
Okay. So he didn't talk for a while, correct?
Yes.
Not to you. And this was a very difficult situation. I understand that. Your father drank quite a bit on occasion, correct?
Yeah, everyone drinks, sir.
Okay. He drank more than most, though, right?
No, sir. I will admit this much because I lived there my whole life. He drank, yes. But on more occasions, was there more than others? No, sir. Because at all times, at least especially when I was there and from what I had seen and had always seen, he'd still get up. He was still functional. He still talked. He still called his family. And he still sat there and talked with me in my room. Because him and I hung out a lot, sir.
Okay.
But I will say, no, yes, he did drink. But then again, I mean, who doesn't? Who hasn't?
Well, he showed up at your graduation party, didn't he?
I didn't have a graduation party, sir. Actually, it was a little get-together. But I'm not the one that had planned or hosted it because I did not want one.
All right. But he showed up at that party, correct?
I mean, it was at the house, so yeah, he was there.
All right. He smelled of urine at that time, didn't he?
No, sir, not that I know of, no. He smelled totally fine to me that day.
He was slurring his speech, wasn't he?
No, not that I know of either on that day. Because on that day, in an honest answer, an honest memory, he smelled fine and he wasn't slurring no speech. But also, then again, I was hanging with a bunch of people.
So you didn't talk to him?
No, I'd spoken to him, yes, but he had nothing like that you are saying on him or described in that way.
The medical records indicate that he was severely intoxicated. Would you disagree with it on that day?
No, because I know that's something that the nurses did tell me about, that he had shown up with a pretty high level.
All right. And, but, go ahead. You indicated when you got there in your preliminary exam transcript that he was slurring his speech the first time.
I put that in my transcript. Is that what you said? Or
That's what you testified to last time.
I testified to that he drank, yes, sir. Because I'm not going to lie and say that someone doesn't drink alcohol. If that's what you're asking, yes. And last time, that is what I testified to, is the fact that, yes, he does drink alcohol.
He did slur his speech on that
He did
occasion?
not slur his speech. No. Not that I know of and not that I remember hearing. And I knew my father pretty damn well.
All right. You indicated that he set the bug bomb off that day.
He had said that it was a bug bomb that had done it, and he had said that he had set one off later that night, yes, but I do not believe that a bug bomb had done that to him.
Well, I'm asking you what he said to you, not what you believe, all right?
All right, yes, sir.
Okay. Now,
Some body language
when was
going
the
on here.
last time you saw him prior to that date? Do you remember?
Before I saw him in the hospital,
Prior to the October 1st date.
I saw him literally the night before because he had dropped me off, picked me up from work. I was working at Mexico Lindo, picked me up around 11 o'clock at night, took me back to Stanley, which was my place that I was with my roommates, dropped me off. I'd asked him if he wanted to stay the night. He said no. And when I talked with him, he went home because he said he had to take care of Megan.
Okay. And he would look fine on that date, correct?
Yes, sir. No, yeah.
Good. All right.
I mean, there's a bottle of lye on the couch,
You indicated
open and
when
empty
you
with
testified
residue everywhere. The bug bomb has nothing to do with this,
that
bro.
he stated that
Not a
Megan
good defense.
And he had a fight that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point in time, there were some things thrown.
Yes, sir.
After that, he indicated that it was over. He went and took a nap.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
So the fight was over and he went and took a nap, correct?
That is the last thing that he had remembered, that he had told me. I do not know because I was not there that day when they had the fight.
I understand, but that's what he told you, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you have another brother and sister, correct?
Yeah. I haven't spoken to him in 4 years, though. They stopped visiting, and I just stopped caring.
Did you ever notify them that their father had passed away?
I'm going to object as to relevance.
Yeah, come on.
There was a notification.
Hold
There's
on.
an objection.
Hold on, sir. Response?
Your Honor, there's some hostility here. There are other children involved. I believe that he has basically a bias towards everyone. He's the one who's in charge, and I think it shows his attitude about the situation.
He hasn't said anything. There was a bottle of lye on the couch, which is in the picture. Come on.
Other family members.
I understand.
Court
Come
is
on.
going to sustain the objection.
Thank you.
At any time your father talked, did he say that Megan threw this white powder on him?
They
No.
probably had a motion in limine on this, and it comes under various exceptions that
At the
exist.
hospital on that first date, did he ever say Megan threw the white powder on him?
No. But then again, he could not have
Okay.
remembered.
Present sense
And he had a hard
impression,
time remembering.
blah, blah, blah.
I asked what your father said. All right.
I know.
Okay. I didn't ask what you think he remembered or what he did. Okay. After the incident, did you go back in the house?
I went back there one time after getting permission to get the cats, and then another time with DeSantis and one of his, I believe, officers or buddies.
Okay.
And then after that, the other time, every time I made sure I'd gotten permission, but it was just to make sure there was nothing left, evacuate anything that still could have been saved at the time, and then that was it. The rest of it I left. It was dewinterized for a while.
And when you were in the house, it was a fairly messy house, correct?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he lived.
No, not always, but it's what became of it, yeah.
Near the end, when you moved out, the house was messy, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there were fleas in the house at that point in time?
No.
No fleas?
No.
Were there cats in the house?
The cats were in the house, yeah, but then, the cats were inside and outside house, so it's like 50-50. Sometimes they were in, sometimes they weren't. I don't fully remember if the cats were in that house that day, though.
Okay, if I could have a minute.
So I guess he's almost done. I can't imagine she's saying anything of significance to him. And really, he just told the facts pretty much. Obviously, he's biased towards his father, but that's okay. He didn't make anything up.
Mr. Miller asked you about whether or not your father told you that that Megan threw white powder.
Here's a
But in your written
redirect.
statement, it did say cleaning supplies, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He didn't specify what kind of cleaning supplies.
No.
Okay. Do you know what the white powder is?
If I remember correctly, from what I had asked and what I had looked up, I believe it is known as lye powder.
Thank you. Nothing further.
And they did show a picture of it. It says it right on the front
Do you have any questions?
with a big skull and crossbones on it.
Okay, sir, you may step down. Your excuse as a witness.
Yeah, I agree with this. Certainly. He was drinking a lot.
Sure. It is 11.
His son's minimizing that, but the material facts of the lie and stuff, he didn't exaggerate that. They couldn't even get a picture in because he wouldn't say it represented the scene at that time. So here they go with a little break. So my understanding about this is they have more than one person who will say, yeah, I threw the stuff on him or threw stuff on him. I think they have the evidence for that. And I don't know if she's going to try and testify and say she didn't do it.
Anything for the record?
Not for me, Judge.
Not for me.
Okay. You at 11:45.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So they're going to go up to a break. Let's see here. Take this thing off. So when I saw this summary of the case, there was a witness statement saying that she, was trying to get her father's credit card number, didn't care that he was in the hospital, and the brother seemed to confirm that. She and the father had fights, I suppose, in the past, and obviously didn't have a positive relationship. But what did happen eventually is it's shown that there's this bottle there on the couch. You saw that earlier, and it says 100% lie on it, and it has a skull and crossbones on it. And I think the evidence is going to show that she dumped that on the father, and also with water that she put on him, it activated and burned this guy and eventually died because of it. Now, the bug bomb defense, that's ludicrous, in my opinion. I haven't seen the indictment yet, so I guess my question would be, maybe I've seen some of you guys talking about this in the comments a little bit. Like, what are the material elements of this crime and intent? How far do you need to show that for this? Because at 18 years old, does she know that this is, potentially going to kill him? And I guess the question to that is, does she have to know that? Because a lot of times the stuff is just, well, if it was reckless and you knew it could cause harm, then as long as they meet that level, the fact that it caused a greater level of harm than you thought might occur is not a defense. And that's probably the case here. I'll see if I can get the documents before tomorrow and actually look at what the elements are. But my thought is they just have to show that, she knew or should have known that the stuff was dangerous. And then if you put it on somebody, the intent is to cause at least some level of harm, and then it did cause death. And how's she going to get out on that? I don't know, because if you believe that she went and got this bottle of lye from wherever they had it and then opened it and poured it on him, and it was found on the couch there, that's a harmful activity, even at the age 18. And they showed the bottle earlier, and it had a skull and crossbones on it and then a big warning label. So I think, you're pouring it on him and it has those warnings on it. The case looks pretty bad to you or against her. And I see this here, and I'm coming at this without a lot of facts. So I'm also trying to look into comments for people who know more than I do, who can say, my understanding from something I saw earlier today was that she was originally bonded out when the charges were lower, before he died. But then when he died and the charges were upgraded, I think she was held in custody after that. But I'm not totally sure, but that's my understanding of it. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And, if this case goes on like it's going, I'll try and find out a little bit more about it. I looked it up yesterday. I just ran it very quickly into the database up in Michigan, Court Explorer. And that name, there are several cases. So I'm sure some of them are the divorce that probably occurred earlier. And because the father was living apart from the mother. And then this case, but I wasn't able to get the records before this came out to see what the actual story is on this case. But she was charged, I think, not specifically necessarily with murder, but something about having a harmful or dangerous thing and using it in a way that caused death. Yeah, and I think this is a very fair point here. So, the son there is minimizing or didn't understand probably the extent of his father's alcohol abuse, and maybe some of that is how he's remembering it now that his father died in this way, because I agree with the defense. The alcohol use is certainly very severe. And so the father and the daughter had a negative relationship. They'd had a fight, throwing things at each other or something like that. So clearly there's a difference there. And I don't take the son's point of view of the father over the defense point of view, other than, if the daughter thinks it was a terrible relationship and her dad was bad, that's legitimate from her perspective. And if the son thinks he was a good guy, that's legitimate from his perspective. It really comes down to the elements of the crime and not whether he was a good dad or not. So I think from the I only watched it once, the little 5-minute opening that the defense said the idea was. He didn't even know stuff was on him, and he rubbed it all over himself anyway. And part of this will probably be, well, yeah, she poured it on him a little bit, but he made it worse or something. I'm not really sure where they're going to go with this. Again, part of it is, as a lawyer, I like to look up what the actual charge is and see what elements do they have to prove. And I just haven't done that yet. But I think it's going to be showing that, that she had this dangerous thing, which the lie was. And I think they're going to be able to show that she was the one who had it and put it on him. And she intended some level of harm to him when she did it. And if there's a big skull and crossbones on it, you're not putting it on him to make him feel better or to soften his skin up or something like that. I mean, she was mad and she poured this poisonous stuff on him, and there you go. That's what happened. So we're on a 15-minute break, and this will come back here in just a few minutes. I'm going to try and watch it till lunch, and if I can get work done, maybe come back and do it again in the afternoon and do some work while it's happening. But I kind of want to pay a lot of attention now to see what the theory of the case is. So one thing the defense is talking about right now is this bug bomb, but I'm not sure how far they go with that, because is there anybody who's going to believe that a bug bomb that he set off somewhere caused him to sustain burns so bad that he died, and there's no like bug bomb canister found near him, but there's an empty bottle of lye there and poured all over the couch. And they have witnesses who said that she said that she put stuff on him, and then he said that she put stuff on him. And there's a little bit of contradictory accounts of what he said to who and all that, but they do have that in the evidence. So an interesting thing that occurred in it, and something you don't often see, is the prosecution was trying to get a picture into the couch a couple of months after the incident, and they couldn't do it because they didn't have the person who took the picture bringing it in. Maybe they'll do that later, but this guy they couldn't mentally connect between the prosecutor and the witness to get him to say, yes, I remember you being there. I remember when this picture was taken. That's what it looks like. Because you have to say those things to bring a picture in. You can't just bring a picture in. So they couldn't do it. The defense objected. The judge sustained it. The DA even tried to lead the guy and impeach him a little bit, and the defense let him do that, and he still couldn't get it in file. He's like, Judge, I'm just going to withdraw it. I won't try and bring this picture in. Now, if a detective took that picture, the detective, if that person goes on the stand later, could say, I took this picture. That's what the couch looked like at the time. This is a fair and accurate representation of what I saw. And then it could come in. So I don't know if it matters a whole lot. I mean, I would imagine if you leave a caustic chemical on a sofa, that after a period of time, the color might change. Is that what they're trying to say? I don't know that that's critical to this case. Yeah, I think the defense side is going to be, and I don't know if this is a good defense or not, is that, maybe she poured it around a little bit, but he made it worse, and he wouldn't have died if he hadn't been drunk and then done all the things he did. So, what she did didn't cause his death. It's what he did that caused his death. It would be the mental angle, I think, that they would be trying to pursue there. I just don't know if that's really the story they're going to go with. You could say whatever you want, I guess, hypothetically, because he was the only one there when it was burning into his skin, and then he died. So, they'll try and speculate some on that, and I'm sure how they got he rubbed it all over him stuff, but maybe they'll say, I mean, it did, his fingertips were coming off, the guy said, and all that. Yeah, I would say, and I'm not trying to slam anybody in this case. This isn't the trial of the century. It appears from either side. Again, the DA made a 10-minute opening statement, and then there was 5 minutes opening statement, more or less, for the defense. So when have you seen a trial with one that? I mean, sometimes you see people in small claims court will talk longer than that. And this is a significant trial. This charge she has, I think it could hypothetically result in a life sentence. That's why I thought it was some kind of murder charge, but I think it's worded differently than that. Now, I will say for the defense guy, he hasn't tried to be overly obstructionist. His objections have been minimal, and I don't know yet how he's going to pursue his theory of the case. Has he been vague about it because he doesn't want to do it until it's his turn, so the prosecutor doesn't have a chance to go against it right away? I just don't know. So, and let's assume for a moment the facts are going to show that she absolutely for certain poured this lie on him, that the facts are going to show that. They're not going to be able to prove that she didn't, other than this bug bomb theory. Then you really are in a corner there, right? And I think your scenario will have to be, well, she didn't know it was dangerous, if that gets her off under this offense. and that his own activities were the proximate cause of the death and not what she did. Maybe what he's going to try to angle at. But I know 18 is viewed as, young these days and all that stuff. But when the bottle has a skull and crossbones on it and a big red warning label on it and a picture of a drain that's in red, maybe that's not the bottle you pick up off the shelf and pour over your sleeping family member, unless you were trying to create some level of harm for them. And that's what the DA said in opening statement, that that she was trying to, she didn't put it on him to help him in any way. And he wasn't a clogged drain. So I agree with that. I don't know what her legal defense is, I guess, at this point, but that, from a technical standpoint, that involves looking at the charges. From a moral standpoint, you pour this stuff all over your father and it ends up burning him and killing him, you probably deserve some punishment. And I think, unless they just don't do it, that the DA is going to try and amplify that moral aspect of this by bringing in some witnesses to show not just the material fact. She poured this lie on her father and they had a fight and she was still mad, so she did it while he was passed out. They're going to say what she really was concerned about was getting to this party and getting his money, and she's totally heartless and she has no soul and all that. And that was part of the angle there of having the brother say, what did she say to you on the phone? And he's like, she just wanted dad's PIN number. And when I said, he's in the hospital, then she just huffed and hung up the phone. Well, that's the kind of thing that's not an element of the crime necessarily, but it doesn't help you probably with most reasonable people if you're trying to look like you're totally innocent. So we'll have to see what gets said about that when they come back. And I don't know, doesn't this case just kind of strike you as a case for the times here? Here's this kid that's mad and more concerned with her party that she has coming up, and then takes it out on her father because she wants his money and pours his stuff on him. I mean, that's one view of it. But there are also some subtext in this case that she and he had a bad relationship before that. And you can't just pin it all on her, because even though the son had a positive relationship, this guy was slam drunk even at whatever time she did this, like 10 in the morning. His blood alcohol was what would normally make a regular person pass out, probably before they ever got there. So what was going on in that house in terms of, the dynamics of the relationship, I don't know. And is the defense going to be able to show that he did 3 things at her? And does any of that matter? Because when he's passed out on the couch, he's no threat to her. So, it all comes back to the action she took. Did she know it was dangerous, and did she intend harm and stuff like that? And that to me seems pretty straightforward here, and maybe why the state only felt like they needed to talk. They took less time to open this case and present it to the jury before witnesses than we're talking during this break. Okay, so that's really what we're talking about. So I am stretching it to try and get it back to when they come back. It's still, I'm looking at it right now, and it's the Great Seal of the state of Michigan is what they've got going. And they should be coming back in just a moment. Props to that courthouse, though. It's a nice looking wall they got. And also, they've been handling the lighting very well. The jurors have been handling the lighting. So when they need to show an exhibit, the juror turns off all the lights they need to turn off. So way to keep it interactive and keep everybody together on it. And it has it's been running pretty smoothly, I think. And the attorneys have not been obstructionists and stuff like that. A lot of times in cases like this, there'll be a motion in limine before the trial occurs where one side says, hey, judge, I want you to pre-rule that this evidence can't come in. And then they'll fight over that before the trial gets started. And the judge may say, no, I'm not going to let you go into this. And then when a trial happens, you don't have to worry about trying to object on your feet and having a complicated thing potentially be decided wrongly by the judge there. You go ahead and address it ahead of time, and that affects your strategy and stuff too. So there could be a situation here where, some of the evidence matters were decided before this trial started, and that affects how the attorneys are approaching it right now for certain. It's very typical. I know in the Taylor Shabusiness case, I didn't bother to read all of them, but she made various motions in limine. She wanted the evidence thrown out. She wants all the statements she made thrown out because she basically admitted that she cut him up. She even told the police good luck finding all the parts because put them all over the place. I kind of ran out of energy toward the end of it. And those are potentially bad facts you wouldn't want the jury to hear that your client said, right? So You do a motion in limine that you will certainly lose, and that's that. Yeah, it is pretty drastic, obviously, and here it is in a criminal case, and terrible. You know, I don't know anything about this young woman, but she has altered the trajectory of her life considerably by doing this. And you know, why did she do it? You know, had there been violence in the home before in any direction that didn't lead to this kind of a result? Because it was pretty horrific. If you heard all this testimony earlier, this guy was burned up all over the place, and it was so bad in every direction that, you know, his legs were amputated. He had a trach, and he came home on hospice and died pretty quickly after he did do that. But I think he held on for 4 or 5 months. I had read in the summary before the case that he was, you know, basically didn't have any clothes on when he was on the couch. He just had like this blanket, so the stuff was able to get all over him. He didn't get any protection from clothing. So that's pretty terrible. And a lesson out there that if you have a bottle that has a giant skull and crossbones on it, like an old Bugs Bunny cartoon, that's not something to pour all over yourself or anyone else, for that matter. Do not do that. That's why the skull and crossbones are there. Maybe they need to start putting that back in the curriculum again at school. If people aren't knowing what that means, if that's going to be the defense argument that, well, she didn't know that meant that the skull and crossbones were bad. Maybe it just thought it was a pirate brand lye drain cleaner, and then anything that would clean your drain up has to be good for you too, right? I don't know what they're going to say. We'll see. Yeah, just kind of a terrible case there, but you know, it went a little sadder hearing the dynamics of the family and between this brother and the sister and the other kids, and it's just all bad, very bad. And we are at the time of the break is supposed to be over, so they should be coming back in just a moment. Let's get this here and that there, and see what they start here. So on the fly technical support, they when they started streaming this, every time they took the camera off the witness, it would cut the audio out, but they fixed that during the course of this. So shout out to whoever's doing that. And if you want to watch this with nobody talking, it's on Law and Crime, but it's not their main channel. It's Law and Crime Trials or something like that. It's they have, I guess, 3 channels that they show it with nobody blabbing. But if you want to hear some comments, you're in the right place. Yeah, let's see. Looks like everybody's doing what they need to do in the chat until this thing comes back up. You know, I don't know. I didn't hear that. I just saw the openings and just barely saw those last night. And I thought, I wonder if they're going to stream this thing. And then they did. I didn't see it until just before it started. So I don't know a lot about it. But I got to believe this won't go for very long. It just doesn't look like it. They've moved through the witnesses pretty quickly so far. And again, the opening statement perhaps gives a forecast that it won't be a very technical trial, because if it were, your opening statement would normally be longer than 10 minutes or 5 minutes, because you need to work through the situation with the jury and let them know what you're going to be doing. I mean, kind of the defense just basically said, keep an open mind, please. And I think they talked about that he rubbed it in and the bug bomb stuff. But that bug bomb, to me, it's gone anywhere. I don't know if he's a hired guy or if he's appointed or whatever, because she originally had a bond that was fairly high and she got out. And I don't know how they do bond up in there in Michigan, how much she would have to pay as a percentage of her bond to get out, or whether they just let her out on signature or whatever. But I think they removed that when it was upgraded to the death situation. I mean, if you're the defense, you would hope they would think that, I think. And that's what I'm saying. Maybe the defense will bring up some stuff here that's a little more drastic than anything we've heard. I don't think it's a legal defense, of course, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but that might be your only hope, right? Is that he precipitated it. Maybe maybe they're going to say, well, he threw some of that on her one time and it didn't hurt her, and she didn't know that it was dangerous and was just giving it back to him and had no idea that the water would activate it or whatever. I just don't know. But yeah, the needed killing defense, which originated in Texas, is something you would hope a juror would pick up on. I mean, I haven't heard anything, of course, that supports that other than, the alcohol abuse, I'm sure, was bad for his relationship with her. Yeah, and I think that's that's going to be part of it. On the other hand, you chose this bottle to throw on him, and it has the big warning on it. So I don't know that that's going to get her off, but it could be a an angle. If I'm the defense attorney, I certainly want to say what you're saying is that that she didn't know what this was. Yeah. I agree with that as a defense thing. And I'm going to keep an open mind on it. I mean, I wouldn't be fully convinced on that just on the basis of it as an idea, but I have to, part of it is have to read the charge to see how much of that matters. Like, did she have a duty to know or whatever, I just don't know that, but I definitely agree with that. And I think this is your better defense than say the dad had it coming, unless of course they show something else. Yeah, the bug bomb thing. I don't know. I'm no expert on bug bombs. Maybe if you pointed at it yourself, and of course, some people are just ultra allergic to things, but that's not what happened here. The lie clearly did it. That's what was found on the sofa. And these are good questions, and I think this goes with the comment that I just showed that Vicky made. That hey, let's say for example, the house is a disaster, and the lye bottle was on the nightstand next to him or the couch stand or whatever it is there, and the label was turned away from her, and she poured 4 other bottles of things on him because they always threw bottles at each other. Yeah, I hear that, and that would be part of a coherent defense. I have to see if it matters for the elements, but obviously from a jury perspective, that would be better than, like you're saying, if she went across the house and got it out of a cabinet marked poison, do not touch this. That's way worse than if it were just sitting next to him already open. So I think these things do matter. I think these are great points that you guys are bringing up. Yeah, I still got that baby right here. I mean, that is epic use there. Just had to have one of my own. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I think they did say or something at one point, or maybe I read it somewhere. If somebody else knows, they could chip in. I think he was 50-ish, maybe something like that. Not sure. But she was allegedly, 18 at that time, or turning 18 because she was having her birthday party that night, and she was getting her hair done, and there was a hotel involved, and she was looking for the dad's money for these things during the course of this. I think Tricia pointed out earlier that she heard during the opening statement that she needed money for the hair thing, and I think that is correct. Right now, we've heard this bug bomb scenario, and I think some of the people in the comments have brought up maybe where they'll try and take this, which is she didn't know it was dangerous, and also he had it coming, kind of a thing. We'll see. It did look like it on the sofa, but next to it, I don't know. Defense hasn't shown anything yet, so we'll see.
Megan Joyce.
All right.
Okay, go ahead and bring the jury in.
Bringing the jury in. And she didn't cry when the hospital person was talking about the injuries and the skin falling off and the pain and all that stuff, but she did cry when her brother was testifying. So from that, I think you can see a very suboptimal family dynamic. Everybody stands for the jury, especially the juror who operates the lights for the courtroom.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can be seated.
It's go time.
Mr. Sanis.
People are going to call Lucas Kobe, Judge.
Mr. Kobe. Okay.
Before I got the stream up, they had a witness up there who had on like some kind of first responder type of outfit. I don't know if he was law enforcement or EMT or something. So I didn't catch what that person said. And I don't even know if there was somebody before that. Not sure when they started this morning.
Sir, can you state your name for the record, please?
Sure.
Lucas Kobe.
So remain standing, please.
Oh,
Raise
sorry.
your right hand to be sworn.
Under penalty of perjury, you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
That's fair.
I'm sorry.
Did you say I swear?
I swear.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Lucas Kobe, Lucas, and then Kobe, Kobe.
Thank you. Do you know Austin Imirowicz?
Yes.
How do you know Austin Imirowicz?
He is a longtime friend.
Okay. Did you know Conrad Imirowicz?
Yes.
How long did you know Conrad?
Well, it would have been 15 years.
Okay. How would you characterize your relationship with the Imirowicz family?
Austin was like a brother to me, and Conrad was like a father to me.
You spent a lot of time at Conrad's house?
Yes.
Did you live nearby?
Yeah, I lived right down, well, I don't know, about 3 miles away.
So you went to the same school, I assume.
Yes.
Is that where you met?
Originally, no, we met playing baseball.
I want to take you to October 1st, 2021. Do you recall that day?
Yeah.
Okay. At that time, were you living with Austin?
Yes.
Okay. You were not living at the Imirowicz home.
No, we were living in a home off of Stanley Avenue in Pontiac.
Okay. Did you come to learn that something had happened to Mr. Imirowicz that day?
Yes.
How did that happen?
We received a call from Kayla Busquet that he looked dead, and we informed her to call the police, and then we headed to the home.
Okay. Now, did you talk to Kayla yourself?
Yes.
Okay. Who did the call actually come to?
Austin.
It came to Austin. How did you end up talking to Kayla?
To try and figure out what was going on, I just spoke to her over Austin's phone.
Okay. Did Austin put on the speaker?
Yes.
Okay. Is that unusual?
No.
All right. So you heard Kayla telling Austin and yourself about what was going on,
Yes.
and then you went directly to the home.
Yes.
All right. And you went with Austin to the home.
I drove Austin to his dad's.
All right. What did you see when you got there?
EMS.
All right. And was there anybody else there?
Trooper Smith, I believe, got there afterwards, but there was local PD.
Okay. And was Kayla there?
I believe so, but honestly, the details are foggy there.
Okay. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. When you pulled up, what was going on with Conrad? Did you see him?
I did see him.
Where was he?
On the couch.
All right. So you went inside the home?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw him in there?
Yes.
How did he look to you?
Like a rotting corpse.
What makes you say that?
Wow.
He had skin falling off of him. And
Terrible.
there was stuff all over him, and there was liquid on the floor and stuff on the couch where he was asleep.
So there was liquid on the floor?
Yes.
How much liquid?
A lot.
Okay. When you say a lot, tell me what we're talking about.
I don't know. It had to have been minimum a gallon. I don't know what the liquid was personally.
Did you touch it?
No.
Okay. Did you see stuff on the couch?
Yes.
What was on the couch?
A white powder.
Okay. Did you know what that was?
No, not immediately.
All right. Where was Conrad when you came in?
On the couch.
But where on the couch? Excuse me.
Like in relation to.
Yeah. If you're sitting on the couch, is it the left side or the right side?
Well, he was laying across the couch.
Okay. So he's laying down at that point.
I wonder if somebody sat that
Did he
bottle
say
lie
anything to
back
you?
on the couch after he was removed.
Did you say anything to him?
Yes, I asked
Guess we'll see.
what happened.
Did he tell you?
Not immediately, no.
Okay. You said you saw water on the floor. What about the couch? Was the couch?
Objection, Your Honor. He did not say water on
Excuse
the
me,
floor. He
that's-
said liquid.
That's right. Excuse me. You saw liquid on the floor. Is that right?
That is correct.
What about the couch? Was the couch wet?
Yes.
Okay. How did you know the couch was wet?
Well,
Yeah, I
because it
think she
changes
was
color when it's wet and it becomes
Out doing her own
So was it
thing.
darker?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't actually touch the couch, though, right?
No, sir.
Okay. The room was pretty messy. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been there before?
Yes.
And it's been messy before?
Yes.
All right.
However, it was messier than normal.
It's messier than normal?
There was a lot of garbage strewn about that wasn't there previously.
That was unusual?
Yes.
When you went in, you tried to talk to him. He didn't respond to you. Is that right?
That is correct.
What happened then?
EMS took him out and they took him to Beaumont Hospital.
They went to Beaumont. Okay. Was it Beaumont?
or Genesis, maybe.
Okay.
Honestly, that's a little bit fuzzy.
They took him to a hospital. Is that
A
right?
hospital.
Okay. You don't recall which one? Okay. And did you then go to the hospital as well
Yes.
with Austin?
Yes.
What happened when you got to the hospital?
I went into the hospital and spoke with Conrad a little bit,
Okay.
and then Austin went in immediately after me.
Okay. So you went in first.
That is correct.
All right. What did you talk to Conrad about while you were in there?
I asked him what had happened, or if it was. I asked him what had happened and asked him if someone had done it to him or what.
Okay. When you asked him these questions, was Austin in the room with you at that point?
No, sir.
Okay. Did Conrad tell you what happened before Austin came in?
No.
Okay. What did he say when you asked him those questions?
Honestly, he wasn't very verbal. He made noise, but it was hard for him to speak.
Mr. DeSantis, is this a witness?
No, Your Honor, not to my knowledge.
To my knowledge, either.
Deputy, is that a witness? Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. DeSantis.
Thank you. Sorry. You said he
Checking
wasn't
on
very
somebody in the courtroom, I
That's
suppose.
correct.
Okay. How long were you in there before Austin came in?
Maybe 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay. Did he talk to you at all in that time?
No, I mostly just spoke with nurses.
Okay. And then Austin came in.
And then I went out and Austin came in because they had a one-person rule.
Okay.
Or, no, sorry, that was at Hurley.
Okay.
I apologize. Austin did come in. We were both in the room. And then Conrad started to talk.
All right. I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up for us a little bit, okay? Hurley is the second hospital, correct?
That is correct. That's where he went to the burn unit.
All right. So the first hospital is what we're talking about now. Austin did come into the room while you were in there.
Correct.
Okay. Were you then continuing to talk to Conrad, you and Austin?
Austin spoke to Conrad. I kind of sat in the back.
Okay. Did Austin ask Conrad what happened?
Yes.
Did Conrad respond to Austin?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall what Conrad said?
Not verbatim. No.
Okay. Would you gave a written statement, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Here comes the refreshing.
That was given the same day as the incident, October 1st?
Yes.
You'd agree that your recollection then was better than it is now?
Absolutely.
All right. Would looking at the written statement possibly refresh your recollection?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes, sir.
You just read that to yourself and then put it face down and look at me when you're done. Did that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. What did Conrad tell Austin?
Conrad told Austin that Megan had thrown trash at him.
Okay.
And a variety of other things.
Do you recall?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
I was gonna ask.
A variety of other things among trash.
Did he say anything specific in that variety of other things?
Hair dye products, cleaning solution.
Okay. How did that make you feel when you heard that?
Rather upset.
Okay. You've known Megan, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, you're looking at, you see her in court today.
Yes, I do.
Can you identify her for us?
Right there.
Judge, I asked the record to reflect the witness identify the defendant.
No objection.
So noted.
Have you known Megan pretty much the same amount of time as Austin or a different period?
A little bit shorter of an amount of time after Conrad and Julie split.
Okay. And to be clear, Julie is.
Julie is Conrad's ex-wife.
Thank you. So how long were you in the room with Austin and Conrad?
Until we had to leave to. I went out so that Julie could go in, actually.
Okay.
So maybe an hour.
All right. Did you or Austin say anything to Conrad about protecting Megan?
Austin.
What did Austin say?
Austin asked if Megan had done it and then told Conrad that he didn't have to protect Megan if she had.
Okay. And what did Conrad say?
He said that she had.
Okay. That she had done it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Austin told Conrad that
if Megan had done it, he didn't need to protect her. And Austin said that Megan had thrown trash and stuff at him. So
Austin said Megan that, or Conrad said that?
Conrad said that to Austin.
Okay, but it was Austin who asked about protecting Megan.
Yes.
Okay. Did you want to ask a follow-up question?
No, I couldn't hear him.
Sure,
I apologize. I'll keep my voice up.
that's okay. Did you go see Conrad ever again?
Once.
When was that?
Before he was released for hospice.
So you saw him up at Hurley?
Yes.
Okay, were you able to talk to him then?
Yes.
What kind of condition was he in?
Real bad condition.
Okay. Do you recall roughly when it was?
Maybe February or early March.
Okay, so that'd be pretty close to when he came home.
Yeah.
Okay. Were you able to talk to him at all?
He wasn't all there by the time that I was able to see him again.
All right, but we won't ask about what he said, okay?
I appreciate it.
I don't have anything else, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. So you arrived at the home. We're talking about the home now, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to answer yes or no because it was.
Yes,
Okay.
I apologize.
It's not a problem. We just want to make sure we make a good record. When you got there, there was an ambulance there already,
That is correct.
and you and Austin went into the house.
That is correct.
You went up the stairs then.
Yes. And to the left, and then looked into the living room where the couch was with Conrad laying on.
He was on the couch when you got there.
That is correct.
Okay. Now you said you saw liquid.
That is correct.
Where was the liquid?
On the couch and on the floor, right next to Conrad.
And how do you know it was liquid?
Have you ever seen liquid?
Yes,
Okay. It
No.
pools.
it pools. Okay, were there pools on the couch?
Well, the couch was dark and dampened, and there was a pool of liquid on the floor. So
Okay.
I surmised that there was liquid on the couch.
Okay, so based upon the color change in the couch, you're assuming there was water on the couch.
I am not assuming, sir. I am telling you that there was liquid on the couch.
Liquid on the couch, based on your observations.
That is correct.
All right. And on the floor, there was standing liquid, correct?
That is correct.
And where was that located?
That was located at the base of the couch and towards the table that was in the center of the room.
Well, this guy's not going to get pushed around.
So let's fast forward. And you're going to the hospital. You're at the hospital. You go in and talk to Mr. Imirowicz first, correct?
That is correct.
You were there half hour, you said? Rough guess?
To an hour. Yes.
Okay. With just you?
Just myself, about a half of an hour.
Okay. And was Mr. Imirowicz speaking to you?
No, as I stated, I mostly spoke to nurses and doctors.
So he didn't make any statements to you then?
No, I asked him questions, but he was not very verbal in his answers.
All right. And at some point then, Austin came in, correct?
That is correct.
And you stayed for a few minutes while he talked to Austin?
That is correct.
And then you left and Austin was still there a little bit?
That is correct.
And then Julie Conrad came in, so you left, correct?
That is correct. There were only 2 people allowed in the hospital, so I left to allow Julie Conrad to come in.
And Julie's his ex-wife, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. DeSantis?
About how big was this standing pool of liquid?
I would say that it was rather large. It covered pretty much end to end the couch, on the floor at least.
So, given that Conrad was laying on the couch, it was close to Conrad. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. Could you tell what it was from where you were?
I could tell that it was liquid. I couldn't tell you what the liquid was.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, are there questions? Sir, you are thanked and excused.
So far, the jury hasn't asked any questions, even though they can, from what I've seen.
Your Honor, my next witness is scheduled to arrive at 1:30.
Okay. It is 12:08.
They're going to bust it down.
At 1:30. Okay. This is your lunch break. make sure that you don't talk about the case during your recess.
Yeah, he did a good
No
solid
searching
job.
Anything, no looking at social media, or otherwise trying to investigate any of the issues or testimony with regard to this matter, please. Thank you.
All right, so you're
All right. Well, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's interesting, but also interesting to me that they haven't done that, because I think you guys have raised some good points for the defense and for the state that would be things I'd be interested in. Of course, maybe somebody will testify those things later. We'll just see. It probably is up there in that jurisdiction, although some jurisdictions don't let it happen anyway, even if the judge wants it to. So. But anyway, I will go eat lunch and then see if we can come back and catch what they say in this afternoon session, because I think this trial is going to go very quickly. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you in a little while.